Thank you, Jason. It's so wonderful to be here this morning. I'd like to say hello from Seattle, Washington, in the U.S., where it's very early in the morning. Good morning. Other places, I'm sure it's different times. It looks like there's many people here today. I would like also to thank all of the team in Malaysia. And thank you, Sanim, for a wonderful and very informative talk. It was very clear and I think very helpful. I'm very honored to be invited to come and talk to everyone today. The subject of my talk today is going to be the Zen Revolution and also Dharma Combat. Hopefully, I can shed some light on these two aspects. You know, the names of these two topics, the Zen Revolution and Dharma Combat, they both have a kind of warlike quality. Particularly this Dharma Combat, which I'll get to in a moment. The Zen Revolution doesn't have any guns or any bombs or any overthrowing of governments or any of those kinds of things, which we often associate with the word revolution. Certainly throughout history, human history, there have been many kinds of revolutions. Usually in the written history, these are kind of military style revolutions. But the Zen Revolution is much simpler than that. When Zen Master Seung Sahn began teaching, came to the United States in 1972 and started teaching these young folks who were following him. He was a revolutionary teacher. He taught all of his students how to wake up in the moment. And he also created specific methods for doing that. But like I said, the Zen Revolution, in spite of everyone's efforts, is very, very simple. And it's very personal. In fact, it's so simple that usually we don't notice it, even though it's happening right in front of us and all around us, right in this moment. Isn't that interesting? It's a revolution that's happening right this moment, and yet usually we don't notice it. But today I'd like to offer a chance for everyone to experience a Zen revolution. Would you like to experience a Zen revolution? Okay. What I'd like you to do is take your right hand and reach up and touch your nose. Go ahead, give it a good squeeze. There. Did you get it? Did you have a Zen revolution? In English, we have a saying, it's as plain as the nose on your face. Usually we say this when someone isn't seeing something very clearly. Someone says, well, where are my glasses? And, they're sitting right on top of my head or even on my eyes. It's as plain as the nose on your face. What could be more plain than that? Everybody's just reached up and touched it. And our true self is also like this. It's always there, never separate, yet we miss it because our mind is divided. Our mind is divided by opposites thinking and obscured by layers of prejudice and desire. But just now, when you reached up and touched your nose, your true self was also as plain as the nose on your face. So now we have experienced a Zen revolution. And it's not limited to reaching up and touching your nose, although that is not a small thing. But moment to moment, as Sanim already said, when our mind is clear, when our mind is without opposites, we return to our original before thinking mind. Then moment to moment, our true self is also shining clearly. And that is a Zen revolution, the true Zen revolution that each one of us can experience moment to moment in our lives. So now we're going to talk briefly about Dharma Combat. This name also has a very sort of martial or warlike quality. That's okay, though, because names, they're just names. We name everything. Human beings do that. But we have this word Dharma Combat. And if you look at Zen history, you'll see there's many kinds of examples, many examples. In fact, Sanim just spoke of a few. So perhaps a student comes and asks their teacher, "What is Buddha?" And their teacher says, "Dry shit on a stick." This is a kind of Dharma combat. There's a question and a response. And then perhaps the student might follow up. We don't hear about that part of it, but maybe there was a little bit of a follow-up. There's an advance, and then there's a defense, and perhaps then there's a follow-up. One of my favorite stories is when a monk came to the hot springs to have a bath. And after he had taken his bath, he saw the woman who owned the hot springs or looked after it. And he said, "Your hot springs is wonderful. It's the best ever." And the old woman said, "Well, I'm glad you had a good time. Now, you cleaned your body in the hot springs. How will you clean your mind?" And the monk was stuck, couldn't answer. And then as a Zen student, we have an opportunity in Kongan training to respond to that question as if we were the monk. So this is a kind of Dharma combat. But it doesn't have to be just a story, an old story with an exchange. Actually, it can be you going to see the teacher, either privately or even publicly, and asking a question. Perhaps this question is something that really comes from your own experience. Maybe you have a problem in your life. Maybe there is something going on that you're curious about. Maybe you heard a Dharma talk and you don't understand something and you want to take it up with your teacher. Maybe you have a question about the nature of practice or the quality of a bodhisattva. When we open ourselves to deep inquiry, we ask perhaps a difficult question, and then we're receptive to the response. That's very important. We must be receptive to the response. Then guest and host can very quickly disappear, and a true meeting can occur. In this way, Dharma Combat can act as a catalyst to awakening. If we drop our performance anxiety, if we drop our need to be right, if we let go of our own concerns for how we look or how we behave trying to impress the teacher with our great wisdom. All of those things are hindrances. So when we ask a really true question and then are receptive to the response, then this kind of true meeting with no guest and no host can occur. Then meeting with the teacher has great value. And Dharma Combat can be a catalyst for this. It's also possible to test the teacher. Many times people have come to see me and they ask me a very difficult question because they want to see who's sitting in this seat? Who am I coming to see? There's also a history of this in Zen practice. If you're traveling and you meet a teacher, you want to find out what he or she has to offer. So you ask them a question. Perhaps the answer is very satisfactory, and you submit to some kind of teacher and student relationship. And maybe the answer is not exactly completely satisfactory. Then some kind of exchange can occur. But Dharma Combat is not about winning or losing. If we have a winning and losing kind of mind, and we enter into Dharma Combat in this way, all we have is a missed opportunity. Because we're not receptive to the wisdom that might come out of the exchange. In fact, the name Dharma Combat isn't really a very good description. Maybe Dharma Dialogue or Dharma Exchange might be more in the spirit of it. But names are only just names, so we don't need to worry. We don't need to change the name. We just need to understand clearly what the name is pointing to. So this Dharma Combat is actually pointing to your true self. When we go to meet somebody, or if we ask a question in a talk, if we have some idea of winning or losing, then we're already lost. But if we open ourselves up to an honest and open exchange, then the Dharma will flow without hindrance, and everyone can benefit. So if you ask a question, this question must be asked in a spirit of gratitude and respect, not only for the person you're asking, but also for the Dharma which will then flow. And if the answer is not satisfactory to you, that's okay. Then you can ask another question and try and get to the bottom of it. And in that way, the questioner and the person answering the question, they become one in that moment. There's no separation. There's no division. There's no winning and there's no losing. So the Zen Revolution, which is as plain as the nose on your face, and these exchanges, what we call Dharma Combat, but are really just human beings engaging in the Dharma. These two aspects really have the quality of Sangha. They have the quality of coming together to practice. Because if I'm alone in a hut in the woods, as wonderful as that might be, it's not always easy to engage in this kind of Dharma exchange. So we're very, very fortunate to have this Sangha. And right now, 785 people are here engaging together. That's our Sangha. So thank you very much for coming together, for the whole world is a single flower, and I appreciate you listening to my talk.